Just recorded episode 100 with my man Chris Bedard. We were talking about the NFL draft, NBA playoffs, two of the things that we love the most, and kind of a fitting way to do it. We've done a lot of podcasts, me and Chris, in the past 100, so to do the 100th with him was great. So really enjoyed our conversation. If you've been listening from the beginning, it'll sound a lot like those previous podcasts where we're praising the Celtics and worried about the Patriots, but all good stuff. This is the Randy Forcier Podcast. Do me a favor, as always, just because it's my 100th episode, give me a subscribe on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. Follow on Facebook and Instagram too. That'd be great as well. Appreciate all the support over the past 100 episodes. We'll see where we go from here. Here's Chris.
What's up, Rand? What's up?
Hey, do you know what today's episode is?
I was wondering if I was going to be the one.
You are the one. Episode 100, buddy. Let's go.
Dude, congratulations, man.
Thanks, brother.
How do you feel?
Feel good, man. It's funny. I mean, 100 episodes, basically 2 years ago that was started. It feels like I started it like 3 months ago. You know, to think 2 years under our belt. This is probably our, God, who knows how many, 15th podcast at this point. But here we are, man. Episode 100 of the Randy Forcier Podcast.
Wow, that's a big number.
Dude, I'm happy to have you on it to do it. So it'll be another fun conversation.
I'm looking forward to this one, man, because this is like the funnest time. You know, you got the NBA playoffs, you got the team building aspect of the NFL. Like, I don't know about you, but like, obviously the product matters. Our 20-year run was amazing, but like, team building is so awesome.
Yeah, we're not going to have the best team at this point. Hopefully, like, there's better days ahead, which we'll get to. But like, you got to find different ways to enjoy football. And the team building stuff's always been fun, but like, I definitely feel like the draft is more meaningful for us Patriots fans because we're trying to build a team like we used to have, and it's just, you know, so there's more pressure on these drafts. So it definitely made it more enjoyable for me. Thoughts on the Detroit aspect of things? Dude, there was a lot of people there, man.
Dude, did they say like 750,000 people?
Dude, it looked like Times Square on New Year's Eve. It was freaking wild how many people were outside. Like, why would you want to be with that many people? Like, I understand being excited, but it's not like Detroit had the number one pick. You know?
Is the history of this thing, it was Radio City, right, in New York, and there was something that went on with a conflict years ago that got the NFL looking at pivoting from them because of how inflexible they were. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I think that's the gist of it. It had been in New York for, I think, up until like the last handful. And then now they've kind of bounced around. I think they did Cleveland one year. I think they either did Vegas in the past or they're doing Vegas in the future. But obviously Detroit this year. And it seems like they're going to bounce around from year to year, which is probably not a bad idea. But looks cool.
I thought it was great. And I was watching this OJ doc this weekend and just some of the years in that doc. And it got me thinking, man, the NFL brand has been so strong for so long. It's not surprising to me that they can, get almost 800,000 people to hang out over a weekend and watch a draft. It's just so many generations have grown up with it now.
And I'm sure the ratings were huge for TV, and they do it. They stretch it over Thursday night for round 1, 2 and 3 on Friday, the rest on Saturday. People are watching it freaking for 3 days straight. They know what they're doing. So,
dude, we have a lot to unpack here. Where do we start?
Well, I think we just start at the top, man. Because it was, I think you start with just run down the first few, and then we can talk about other ones that you would want to. But this was a big quarterback draft, bigger than even I think I expected. I think they said something about 6 quarterbacks were drafted, the earliest maybe ever in the history of the NFL draft. So it was a big year of where's the QB going to go, and it seemed like with the first pick, the Caleb Williams pick, that was already locked in for freaking months. Did it ever cross your mind that they wouldn't pick Caleb Williams? Like how wild that would have been if they didn't take him.
So I started exploring the question in my thoughts, and I was like, who would be the replacement to him? And I guess really, was Drake a surprise at 3 to the Pats? Probably not, based off of the last couple of weeks. But Jaden Daniels gets a lot of run. And I tend to look at him as a little bit smaller of a quarterback, and then I was like, super judgmental on it, but then I looked at his overall body of work. He had a great career at LSU, threw the ball around like insanely this year, and it's like, why am I judging this kid on this size? So I'm like, I don't know. I'm looking at those QBs and I'm like, who could have been number one?
It
Maybe.
really was always Caleb, and you
Yeah.
knew it from during the season last year. I just had a hard time buying it because he always just seemed like kind of a crybaby, and USC sucked. And did
Yeah.
people not take that into account when they're thinking about drafting him? Or like, obviously he had the tools, he can move around, he's great, but like there was just seemed like there were some weird intangibles with him. I just don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And it's like every one of these quarterbacks, man, it's like an important part of it is like they need to go to a program that's just gonna, you know, cultivate, teach,
Hmm.
be patient, put the right team around them. I mean, we witnessed that with Mac Jones. Everything just falls apart when you don't have a good team around you. So,
Yeah, bad
you know,
coaching.
bad coaching. So I don't know. What are the Bears going to provide them? They've got some tools. I mean, they got some stuff
Well,
on the
well, then
outside that looks way better than. I
let's
mean, it
talk
looks.
about their ninth pick, Odunze. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a freaking stud, man. Like you look at them getting Caleb Williams, then him at 9, and then you get Keenan Allen, you get DJ Moore. Still, it's like those are a lot better pieces than what we gave to freaking Mac Jones when we drafted him a few years ago. They're putting him in the right position.
I think that's a big part of it, and it's like that's why I was like so big on Marvin Harrison with the Pats because I'm like I'm under this thought process of like let's build everything around it and then plug in the quarterback. So
Hmm.
I'm viewing the Pats stuff as like this is like a 2 year. We're gonna have to deal with like a 30% winning chance percentage. You know what I mean? This isn't
Still,
gonna be pretty for us.
still, and I hope people can keep that in mind because Mac didn't necessarily have that leash. I think people thought, we still had Belichick. You insert Mac, maybe some pieces that carried over from the past few years, and like maybe we could pick it back up. But like, hopefully, the expectations are now set that this isn't like a 1 year fix. It's like a multi-year fix. Before we get to the Pats,
Yeah.
did you think they were going to take? Do you think Washington was going to take Jaden Daniels? I thought they were maybe going to take Drake May because everyone had gotten to the point that it was just locked in that Jaden Daniels was going 2 and Drake May was going 3, and my mind was like, that's what if everyone's putting out there, maybe the reality is it's going to go the other way around, and they ended up taking Jaden Daniels and leaving Drake May for us.
Those two right now in my mind, it's like Jaden had he played at a better school, played against better competition. Drake has the body. Some of the stuff, when he runs, it kind of reminds me of Josh Allen, just from a physicality standpoint. How he looks. His arm is obviously pretty large. I don't know, man. It's like I'm wondering a little bit about his competition and some stuff you hear about his feet and stuff. You don't hear any of that with Jaden, so it's like it seems like they were locked in on him, and it's a good pick, right?
But he's like you already said, he's small, and not necessarily height wise, but like thickness wise. I think he weighs like 195 pounds, and that's not. I mean, obviously he'll bulk up and work out, and they put him through the programs, and he'll fill in a little bit. But when you have a guy like him that runs a lot, taking hits is tough when you weigh 195 pounds. I mean, what was freaking Bledsoe 250 when he took that hit from Mo Lewis? Like Jaden Daniels could get killed out there.
These guys on the ends and these noses and these tackles, I mean, they're just getting so much bigger now, so much faster. You see them in the combines, some of their 40 speeds. It's like you have to worry about his size, obviously, but like, dude, every deep dive that I did on these quarterbacks, it was like everything that I read about Jaden is the skill set was just so much better than worrying about the size of him. So
Mm-hmm.
I was convinced as a Pats fan, if for whatever reason they took Drake, I wasn't going to be happy with Jaden because of that factor. And it's like, I don't know if I'm narrow minded on it. You know what I mean? Because it's like maybe the kid just is good enough to float around and avoid injury. But man, 195 is not a big guy.
No, not at all. What were you gonna say?
Well, there's you mentioned the statistic of so many guys being drafted early.
Mm-hmm.
There was this number that I stumbled upon. Since 1989, there were 5 NFL quarterbacks drafted in the top 3 that won a Super Bowl. So I mean, we could go over the answers at a different time, but like, there's this many quarterbacks drafted this early, and it swings back to my thought with the Pats. It's like, why didn't we just build everything around the quarterback position? Because the statistics say it's more likely that you're wasting your time with a quarterback this high with this type of team, but what do I know?
Dude, I know that does. It seems like it's worse than a coin flip chance that you have a franchise quarterback with a pick at this point. Obviously, like these guys are good. I was when the Pats were on the clock. I don't know what I was thinking, dude. I was like, oh man, they're gonna trade. Do I want them to trade? Like, I thought there was no chance they took Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3. It would have had to be some trade scenario to get him a little bit. I don't know that you really would get him later. He wouldn't have made it past Arizona, obviously, but I really was hoping that we would get a weapon. And I guess I'm ultimately at the point where I'm talking myself into Drake May.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, this has a little bit of a feeling of I think Marcus Smart is 9 years in the league, so that would be the 13 or 14 draft. When the ping pong balls didn't fall our way, we end up sliding to 6, and the Sixers had the 4th pick. Sixers used the 4th pick on Joel Embiid. Do you know how many times I've looked at Marcus Smart and just wished it was Joel Embiid? I hope I don't have the Marvin Harrison scenario in this equation with Drake May, because I really wanted Marvin. I mean, the kid's a stud.
He's a stud. Seems like it's a sure thing, for him to be a very, very good thing. But it was a deep receiver draft between him and Neighbors and Adunze. Those 3 guys would have been one in any other draft. So it would have been nice to get one of those guys, especially Marvin Harrison Jr. But I don't know what that would have looked like if we could have traded up and got some other quarterback later on. So I don't know. It is what it is, man. I'm going to be fired up about Drake May at least for a year or 2. Hopefully he doesn't get thrown in day 1, and maybe Jacoby Brissett starts the first 5 or 6 games and gives him some time and he learns some things, but we'll see.
The Pats lens that I view this through, I see a kid that can run like Josh Allen. I'm not saying he's Josh Allen. I see a kid with a big arm. I see a kid that led a team that was actually not very good. And some of the throws off his back, off the back of his, off the back legs, he made some plays, and it just looked like he didn't have the team around him to kind of be in an area to make him look better. So I'm hoping we have something here. I hope we don't rush him into it. But dude, some random thoughts that I have, like Brock Bowers. Wow, what a pickup for the Raiders.
Brock, the beast.
Yeah, dude. Is that kid like 85% Gronk? You watch his
He's a big dude.
You watch his film and it's like, whoa, do we have a comparable here that we get to watch that's kind of Gronkish?
Hey, that would be cool to see. Tight ends are such a big part of the game now.
Yeah.
So having a good one that can create matchup problems is a game changer. So not a bad pick at all. Who else strikes you? Okay, how about this?
Yup.
Was the Michael Penix Jr. pick the worst pick in the history of the NFL draft?
What are they doing?
Dude, I feel bad for like Atlanta Falcons fans, man. Like, what the hell is that guy doing, dude? I don't know why you would. There's no reason to pay that money, and this isn't stuff that hasn't been said in the past few days, but there's no reason to pay Kirk Cousins all that money and then not go get a freaking stud receiver who was drafted right after Penix Jr. That guy adds no value to the team now, and it makes no sense at all.
I mean, Cousins has to be looking at it like, what am I doing? Like,
yeah.
He's probably looking to buy a house if he hasn't already. He's probably looking to settle some roots. He's thinking, I have 4 years here to grow with this young team. And, I mean, dude, he might be there for a year now. Right?
Yeah, but, like, if Penix Jr. even survives, he's a guy that's had a ton of injury concerns. I don't think anyone thought he was necessarily going to be a top 10 pick. I heard things about him on maybe the bottom of the first round. I almost thought he'd be a guy that would potentially be on the table for the Pats to get with, what was it, the 37th pick?
Yeah. So, dude,
I was just shocked by that.
Yeah, same here. So let's do this real quick on quarterbacks. So Bears, Caleb, good pick for them, yeah?
Yeah.
Commanders, Jane Daniels, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Drake, you like that there at 3, right?
Yeah.
Penix.
As the fourth QB, everyone thought J.J. McCarthy would be taken before him. Shocked.
Yeah, so J.J. at 10, Vikings. I guess that makes sense. But Bo Nix to Denver, it's like,
Dude, I don't know, man. People reaching, I guess. Maybe the Penix Jr. thing put some heat on them. They felt like they needed to get somebody. The JJ McCarthy thing could be good. That's who I think Minnesota wanted, and there was talk about them trading up to get him. So they didn't make any trades, and they were still able to get JJ McCarthy. Denver must have just felt some pressure. Bo Nix, I wouldn't have been upset with Bo Nix in the 37th spot. And for some reason, my small brain thought he would still be available. So again, that's 6 QBs by the 12th pick. Again,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy as well. I guess where I was going with that little exercise is like a couple of years ago, you had the Trey Lance, Mac, and all those guys. And obviously, Trey ended up, not doing anything. We're going to look at this list a couple of years from now, and you're like, the Pats picked Drake? What? When they had Bo Nix sitting there? You know what I mean?
I hope not, man. I freaking hope not. But yeah, that's inevitably going to happen. It'd be like Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, I mean, you name it. The freaking Mitch Trubisky. There's always guys that get drafted in that part of the draft that aren't in the league a few years later. So I just hope it's not Drake May. I hope he's the stud of the group. But I'm concerned. Who else sticks out for you from the draft? Like what other thoughts do you have?
Man, a lot of wide receivers here, and it's like it's going to be a little bit of a play in my mind of, who drafted who and how that's going to fit. I mean, Harrison obviously with Arizona I loved. Malik to the Giants. Giants severely looking for quarterback help, settle on a wide receiver. The first round of wide receivers, after listening to a couple guys the last few days on pods, it's like the second and third round of wide receivers are really your 2 and 2A types. So it's like it's going to be interesting to see which one of these first round wide receivers actually, outside of the major names, ends up being like, wow, okay, maybe this team ahead of them should have grabbed him instead. Sort of like our N'Keal Harry with Metcalf a few years ago. So I don't know.
It's inevitable.
But yeah, I don't know. That's really where my thought was, because it's like there's a lot of offensive players here in this list, and it's all wide receivers, quarterbacks, a couple OTs.
Yeah. There's a few linemen. What is there? 1, 2, 3, 4 in the first round of the draft.
Yeah,
that's obviously such a key position.
And end snuck in there. Quarterbacks corner snuck in there. It's like this draft was boring.
It was just pretty straightforward. It felt like once it got going.
Yeah.
There wasn't like any like big blockbuster moves. I definitely feel like the build up to the draft was more than in the recent history. Again, maybe that's Patriots being the third pick and me directly feeling that hype, but it seemed like the build up was more than the actual draft.
Though, man, to answer your question, does Caleb live up to the billing of number one? That's a question mark for me. Will I regret the Pats not taking Marvin Harrison? That's another thought for me. The Penix, how does that play out? Brock, man, I can't wait to see Brock. It's going to be fun to watch that kid just fly around. But, every other team from there throughout the first round, I'm just like, okay, that made sense. They need that. They need this. And nothing really kind of stood out to me where I was like, I kind of questioned that,
Yeah, totally. What do you think about the Pats draft specifically beyond the Drake May pick?
So I did a deep dive on character, athleticism, and sort of where guys were projected to be picked. We'll talk about Polk. Let's talk about the wide receivers. I don't know, man. It seems like these kids are dog type of players. Like I watched a lot of film on them. They're guys that are like tough in space. They're guys that can go get footballs. The Javon Baker kid seems to have a mouth on him where it's kind of like a little like Steve Smith-ish, where it's like at the end of the day, do you want a Steve Smith on your team? The answer is yes.
Yeah, absolutely want that.
Will he be that type of guy? I don't know. So then, we went with Caden Wallace in the third round. And we took another interior lineman in a couple rounds later. I think overall our draft was really good. So I would judge it as a B. What does a B mean coming out of my mouth? I don't know, because you have to see it for a few years. I don't think it was a bad draft.
I think we definitely needed offense. So for that reason, I'm happy that we dedicated our first 5 picks to QB, receiver, tackle, guard, and wide receiver. Like those are things that we need weapons on the ends. We need line. Obviously, QB goes without saying. Our defense is the strong part of our team, at least the way it's currently put together. We definitely need offensive weapons, and I'm glad that they dedicated the picks to that.
I thought too is like we re-signed Owenu. Michael's like a really good right guard, and he kicked out to left tackle and right tackle over the last couple of years for various reasons, injury wise. So we re-signed him. I'm actually in this area, and I think I'm going against the grain of some of like the Boston people. I actually wonder if this kid Wallace is good enough if they kick him out to right and Owenu goes to left. We signed a free agent from Pittsburgh who could be a swing tackle type of scenario. Sidney Sal from last year. We actually drafted a center and 2 guards last year, so we went guard and tackle in this draft. I think, if anything, you have options, but don't be surprised if Owenu is your left tackle and if Wallace is what he's supposed to be, drafted in the 3rd round, which a lot of people wrote that maybe it was about probably a 4th round draft pick going a little early, but the tackles were kind of flying off the board, so I think we went for one. I don't know. Maybe this Wallace kid's playing right, with Andrews anchoring at center. It'll be interesting. The wide receiver room for the Pats is what I want to know, because it's like you have, you got Pop, you have Kayshon Boutte, you have Thornton from a couple of years ago, KJ Osborne we just picked up. Kendrick Bourne's coming back. Who's the odd man out if you keep 5? You got to axe at least 2 of them. It's probably Juju, right? Juju's gone.
He should have never been here to begin with, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Rack him.
We should have had Jacoby instead. But yeah, I hope that's the case. What do we pay? But he has a decent little, I don't know what his cap number is, but I think we owe him a decent amount of money for this year. So I don't know if that's reason not to let him go, but I hope they make some smart decisions.
One quick thing about the Pats before we exit this conversation is that there's a kid, Bell, from Florida State, tight end that we drafted in the 7th round, I mean. Dude, we have some family in Florida that are FSU fans, and I immediately started getting text messages about this kid's athleticism, his quote-unquote catchability. Like,
Right.
Dude,
What?
if we landed a 7th round tight end that actually sticks on our team, because we're kind of thin in that area, and this kid ends up being a player, I want to thank Allie's family for the heads up on it.
Shout out Allie's family on that one.
Yeah.
So, do the Pats have any moves in them between now and the start of the season? Is there any? There's nothing, right? There's no one out there. I mean, you hear people like Zeke's kind of sorting out his options, but is there anyone else like that out there? There's nothing.
Dude, you just mentioned Zeke. He just signed back up with the Cowboys today, and I thought,
that done deal?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. He went back home. I don't know, man. One of the things that I thought was sort of overplayed for a few weeks is the fact that the Pats were getting killed for not doing a quote-unquote big move. And it's like, if you look and see who re-signed with their teams, there wasn't really a big move out there. And then, we lost the kid from Jacksonville to the Titans, the wide receiver.
Calvin Ridley? Yeah, that's a freaking loss. His girlfriend didn't want the Northeast weather. That works against us, man. The taxes and the weather in the Northeast, especially during football season, is not a great thing.
It sucks, man, because you have the millionaire's tax and you have the cold. It's like we're going to have to overpay a little bit to get people to come, or we're going to have to get better again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you had Brady. The Brady and Belichick factor was the equalizer for that sort of stuff. And now that doesn't exist. So now what?
So my thing is to answer your question, we're loaded on defense. We probably could use a corner. Throughout the summer, you're going to notice some teams are going to notice that their rookies are going to be able to take a veteran's job. Somebody's going to get axed. I think maybe a move that comes our way is at the corner position. We're going to need one. But, man, everything on D, I feel like we're set. Maybe some interior guys to back up the big guys, the noses. But what's out there? I mean, at this point, are you going to pick up another wide receiver? You already have too many in the room. Maybe a running back, but we just picked up an undrafted free agent that looks pretty decent. I don't know. I think you bank your money and save it.
Yeah. Which I'm okay with. I'm okay with that. Are you optimistic about Jerod Mayo?
What does that look like? Communication skills, he seems to have them. I think it's been cool that he's referencing Bill because you can see there's some influence there, so it's probably going to reflect in his coaching in certain areas, but we're going to have a communicator now. Unfortunately, it's just not going to be a very good football team, so I just want to see guys get better this year, and I'm hoping that that's what I'll notice from him and his staff because, dude, we added a lot of people to that staff, and I don't know if they're good or not.
I'm one of the guys that, I mean, I hate saying it, but I was ready for Belichick to go, and I did want Vrabel to be the coach personally, just because I freaking love Vrabel, but I love Jerod Mayo too, so I'm optimistic. It's going to be a totally different feel for the first time since I was in freaking college, but I thought he did a good job in the draft, and it was nothing crazy, but like there wasn't big mistakes, there wasn't head scratching moments.
Yeah.
You know, let's do more of that stuff. And it's football season in a couple months, dude. Not that far away.
I'll say this about the Pats, and if the team building aspect of football is so fun to watch for me, I sort of batted lead off with that thought, but I think we have something that's growing. I think we're going to have to be patient as Pat fans. I mean, it's going to look ugly at times, but I think we need to look at individual growth because ultimately the next couple of years, if we can plug the right way, I think we're building some pretty nice things. We've got a core of like young Gonzalez, Barmore just got extended. You look at Pop Douglas. Yeah, it's like Pop Douglas, is he going to be a player? Let's see what happens with this draft. You got some guys from last year's draft that are producing. So it's sneaky. We'll see what happens.
I'm excited about it. Do you want to pivot to some NBA playoffs for a few before we wrap it up?
Let's go.
So have you been watching the NBA playoffs?
I have been. I started betting again, and now I'm not betting again.
That's great. I love the NBA playoffs. And we did a whole podcast on it last time. I am like all in for this time of year. There's games on every single night, good games, competitive games.
Yeah.
The stars in the NBA doing what stars do. And I think we have the Celtics, was it tonight? 7:30?
Yeah. Yep.
Game 4 against the Heat. What are your thoughts on that series?
I'd be surprised if it goes past 5. Miami's coached well. They have a bunch of shooters. They have dogs on defense, which is why they stole one from us. By the way, the Celtics went 5-6 in the playoffs last year at home, so it was not a fun thing for me to see them split the first 2 home games. But
after the first game, dude, you thought that they were going to win in 4 by 20 points every single game. But it also took the Heat having a historically good performance in that game too.
Yeah.
Win it. I mean, would they have like 23 threes or some record-breaking amount of threes?
Yeah.
And shooting percentage. So, I mean, that's kind of an anomaly.
I sometimes wonder. I like Missoula. I really do. I think he's a good coach. I think he's grown into it. But like if you had like an Eric on the Celtics coaching the Celtics, I think some things look positively different. Even though we're as good as we are. But Miami, I don't think gets another one. You watch tonight, they'll end up winning. And
Dude, the Celtics are so much the better team, though. Like, I really do think that he got lucky in game 2. No Jimmy Butler. Porzingis had an off game. Like, dude, they're going to freaking step on their throat tonight, in my opinion. So we'll get back to the Celts. But the Cavaliers Magic series does nothing for me. It's just... 4-5 seed with like some above average players on the team, but like no studs. Does that do anything for you?
Just young guys developing, scrappy teams. It reminds me of the Isaiah Thomas led Celtics, where both teams are just good enough to be middle of the pack, but missing a player to be upper tier. So that it's funny, man. I've been watching everything. I have not paid attention to 1 second of that series. Actually,
yeah. What I hear is that Donovan Mitchell's probably out the door after this season, which is tough for Cleveland. It seems like they're maybe on the downswing. Magic's are on the upswing. So I mean, maybe teams to watch in the future, but I'm out. That's who we're playing next. I'll get a series. Here I am assuming that we're going to win, but you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I do.
We'll see one of those 2 teams in the next round. The Bucks-Pacers matchup is an interesting one, given Giannis's health issues. Halliburton not being back where he was, it seems like a very winnable series for Indiana, who's up 3-1 at this point. They're basically going to win, barring something crazy happen. And it's just wild. Bucks look scary. Bucks beat us by like 20-something points in that last couple weeks of the season. That game where we had 2 free throws to 0 free throws or something like that.
Exactly.
I was like, man, we got to watch out for them in the playoffs. And here we are. They're on the verge of being out.
If you go back to the 08 Celtics championship run, every one of those series besides the championship series went 7 games. Why I'm bringing that up is Doc Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Doc Rivers. I love his voice. I love the way. I love his I don't know. I just think he's such a positive presence.
Mhm.
Is is he severely overrated?
He's got to be. Dude, do you see the numbers once they fired Adrian Griffith and then Doc Rivers came in? Dude, they've been
Yeah.
terrible since Doc Rivers came in. It's a really like, it's really this point in the season where things significantly changed, and I'm sure they regret that firing and hiring. And here they are, they're going to be out. And you have this guy like Giannis too, who's one of the best to ever do it. And like, when does he start to get frustrated being in Milwaukee? And he's a guy that says he loves Milwaukee. He signed an
Yeah.
extension, but in the NBA, all it takes is like one thing, one bad playoff exit to, for the rumors to start that, hey, Giannis is looking at houses in Miami or
Yeah.
whatever, and then next thing you know, you request a trade. So, dude, not a great thing for the Bucks.
They're in that area for me that I think Golden State's in. Golden State has some aging guys along with some nicer younger players. So it's like it's kind of keeping them in the conversation. Milwaukee, I think it was I think bringing in Lillard and removing Holiday really hurt that team. And I where the age thought comes in is like Middleton just doesn't look like Middleton
Yeah.
anymore. So it's like you get rid of Holiday, you still have Middleton, you have a ball dominant Lillard, you have an unhealthy Giannis. It's like I don't know that team fits. It just doesn't
Yeah.
fit. And I'm okay with that because if the Greek had actually really good teammates around him, he would own the East for 10 years.
Dude, he's so good.
Yeah.
And we had that series that went seven. Was it last year? I mean, I feel like we played them a bunch over the years, but dude, he would take it to the hoop, and I was scared. I'm like, there's nothing they can do to stop this guy.
Yeah.
He's so good. So, anyways, I guess it's to our benefit this year. It would be nice to play the best, But I mean, there's no guarantee if the Bucks won, they would get out of the next round against the Knicks the way the Knicks are playing, or the 76ers. That's been a fun one to watch. It was a good game, just not just the other night on.
So Knicks very well coached. Former '08 assistant coach Tibbs. Everybody that gets coached by him plays hard. I don't know
Yeah.
what his shelf life looks like because eventually I think he just annoys people by his presence because he is like
Mhm.
the Iron Fist type and you know how athletes are these days, but right now it's working for the Knicks.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, I saw this interesting stat though about Embiid when he's on the court, his plus minus numbers are way in the positive, and when
yeah,
he's off the court, they're like the worst ever. So like the 76ers live and die based on what Embiid does and when he's on the court. So I don't think that they can come back though. I mean, he's not 100%, has Bell's palsy, has some other issues. I think with Brunson and the Knicks right now, it's probably a pretty good thing at this point to think they're going to win it all, being up 3-1, or not win it all, but win this series.
and again another like disappointment for Philadelphia fans, you know. It's just it's another run of just we have some alphas, we have some good teams, and they're just not next level. Philadelphia, I think that's what the beauty of the Celtics rebuild is we've had some disappointment with young guys growing into men. These guys have always had for the last, since they got in, they've been plugging and playing these superstars and just nothing works.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not,
it's just it's weird.
yep,
And plus, we have their number too, which has been fun over
I
that
love it.
stretch time. So when we look at the East and the teams that are in it, like, I know the Celtics lost game too, but like, who really can beat us out of that group? Can the Knicks really beat us to go to the finals?
No.
Yeah, I feel like we have a fairly clear path to the finals if we play even remotely as good as we can play, right?
I was looking at some betting numbers. I think there's like a 67% chance we make it out of the East,
Yeah.
the NBA Finals, which is the highest number between the East and the West Coast. So it's like Celtics are clearly a favorite to get out of the East.
Yeah. So I do feel good about that. But then when you start looking at the West, some good teams out West, man. There really is. Like, I do feel like the West is stronger. Thunder Pelicans is not really a matchup at this point. They're 3-0. Thunder, number one seed out there. They're good. Like, they're a good constructed team. And, it's strange to say because who would have thought? But SGA is freaking a stud, and they have some pieces around him.
Did we not talk about OKC enough when we did our NBA preview? Because I don't feel like we gave them the proper love because we were talking about Denver. We threw in some Golden State thoughts. Phoenix we were talking about. It's like OKC's like, I'm nervous as hell. about OKC.
But no one put them at the number 1 seed to begin the year. No one thought they were going to be like what they are. And SGA is top 5 player at this point. Chet's good. The rest of all the pieces they have on their team are good. I would have never thought they'd be the 1 seed out of the West, but they're going to breeze through that first round series, and I think that's a fairly sure thing at this point. And then they're going to have to play the winner of the Clippers Mavs, which, dude, either one of those teams is pretty freaking good too, man.
Yeah, dude, I was thinking about the OKC just team in general. They have so many draft picks. They have so much cap space. They are almost going to have an overabundance of assets at a certain point that they'll actually have to start banking and trading away to kick the can down the road. OKC, in theory, could be around for a little while. You know what I mean? It could be an OKC Denver battle out in the West as long as Jokic is like young and healthy. You know what I mean?
I love that you called him Jokic.
Yeah, I always screw his last name up, Joker.
That's awesome. 100% yes. So, who do you think wins the Clippers-Mavs series? Gun to your head. It's tied 2-2. Clippers are the 4, Mavs are the 5.
I like the Mavs.
Yeah, me too.
I do.
Kawhi's only played a couple of games so far. I don't know if he's going to play Game 5. But is this, Luka's chance to advance in the playoffs a little bit and be more prominent in the league?
Kyrie's playing pretty good too, man.
Freaking Kyrie, man. I know he is. I hate to say it, but he is playing pretty good.
I mean, he had that clutch layup the other day that was ridiculous between 3 guys. He's playing. He's balling out right now. And actually, for 2 very ball dominant guys, they're playing well together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're good. They've been on a little bit of a run. So I actually hope that they win because it would be fun to see them continue to go on to the next round, despite my hate for Kyrie.
Sneaky little factor for me with Dallas is I think I would want to get drunk with Luka and just listen to Luka talk his native tongue in a bar to people that don't understand anything that he's saying because he would shit on everybody the whole time and we would just sit there and laugh.
It's awesome. He's the man. He's really good.
Yeah,
he's really good.
He's really good. He's insane.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy. Timberwolves already won that series, the one series that's done at this point.
Yeah.
Timberwolves freaking dominated the Suns, which, dude, I don't know why I thought the Suns would be good. I mean, yeah, you have KD, you have Booker. Those 2 guys are some top players, top 15 guys, and they just, I don't know, they just seem like a team that's going the wrong direction. And I don't think they have a first-round draft pick till 2030. So
they got in bed with KD.
Yeah.
And look what happens. I mean, ever since he left Golden State, I mean, he did Golden State a favor by leaving, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he didn't really do anything in Brooklyn. Here he is now in Phoenix, and I've already read some stuff where I think somebody leaked that, he just felt like he was standing around too much, and, the way the offense flows doesn't work for him. So it's is he doing his KD thing where he needs to go someplace, to hang out and win a championship? I don't know.
Is he really going to go someplace else? His career has just been so interesting because he's a guy that had so much skill.
Yeah.
But he's also a guy like Shaq, without a team. And Shaq has way more ties to the Lakers and the Heat to what I think of with him. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I think of what jersey I would put on KD at OKC, I guess. But since going to Golden State and the way he's bounced around, it's weird. It's a guy without a team, guy without a fan base behind him.
And it's a real quick thing about the Clippers. Just let Kawhi Leonard go. Somebody needs to stop paying this guy. He never shows up anymore. It's so weird.
Didn't play Game 3. I think he played Game 4, but he's uncertain for Game 5. Game 3s and Game 5s on tied series are freaking important.
Yes.
He doesn't seem like a dependable dude. He just does what he's going to do, and I'm glad he's not on the Celtics.
I should say this about the West between OK's, man, the Nuggets obviously are amazing, but don't discount what Anthony is doing there.
Yeah. With Timberwolves. He's good.
He's doing alpha stuff at the times where you need an alpha. He's doing the things that I wish Tatum would do consistently.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that because I would have said it. I agree.
Yeah, it sucks. I told Tangway this. If Edwards was up for a trade right now, who would I would give him Tatum all day. And I love Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Anthony
Yeah, I
Edwards
agree.
is
Edwards is like the best non-big man guy in the league at this point. I would take him freaking over a lot of people. So,
dude. He,
so that's going to be an interesting matchup in round two between. I mean, Nuggets presumably are going to beat the Lakers. The series is 3-1 right now, but that's going to be a fun series to watch because the Nuggets are really good too. They're
yep.
really freaking good. Yeah.
Randy Forcier.
Yeah.
Thoughts on LBJ and what it looks like after this season? Have you given that any thought?
The stuff that I hear is just like there's just not a lot of moves for the Lakers to make to improve themselves. So it would really take LeBron going someplace else, trying to maybe partner up with a team where they draft his son and he can chase a championship. He is still a good basketball player, man.
Insane.
It's insane that he's as good as he is at his age. Like he's like a top 10 guy from my point of view.
Dude, he's a fucking alien. Let's just say it. He's an alien.
To do what he does at his age, holy cow. Playing with guys that are half his age.
Yeah.
Wild.
So he's got all those business interests and I guess like acting opportunities coming up in a few years in Los Angeles. So it's like he's deep rooted himself business wise. Do you think he takes his brand outside of that and leaves the LA Lakers? I don't know if at this point he's just, all right, I'm 39 years old or 38, whatever it is, 39, I think.
He's 39.
Yeah, I still want to win championships. I'm still pretty good. Yeah, I could probably go somewhere else, but I'm in nice weather every day. You know what I mean? I'm making a ton of money out here in LA. I'm probably going to get my son to get picked up as an undrafted free agent, and I'm just going to hang out here for a couple of years.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks he still has the drive to be better than Michael Jordan, which means more championships. So if that's a driver for him and legacy is a driver for him, then maybe he does chase an NBA championship. Although, I don't know. I feel like if you went someplace else and joined a super team and won a championship as like the third best guy on the team, is that even that great anymore at this point? I'd probably, I guess if he wants a championship, it's a championship. But part of me thinks like, just enjoy your time in LA.
Yeah. Who do you think's coming out of the West?
Probably Denver. Still, like they're really good, man. They're really, really good. The things that I watch and the things I read about them, it just seems like they're playing a different level of basketball. Yes, did they lose a game? They did, but Jokic is, dude, he's bordering on an all-time great. And maybe this is a scenario where the Thunder are like the Celtics from years ago, where they gotta learn through some losses here. They're a good team, but maybe they need a little bit of heartbreak in the playoffs. And the Nuggets have been there before. Maybe the same thing for the Timberwolves too, to be completely honest with you. But so I'd be inclined to take the Nuggets. What do you think?
I was just thinking about the 1980s. I'm going to take the scenic way to get there. So in the 80s, the Celtics had to go through Milwaukee, the Sixers, the Bucks, later years, the Pistons, the Bulls to get out of the East. And still they appeared in 5 championships, won 3. Wish it was more than 3. Wish it was 5. Wish Larry Bird had 5. Wish he had more than Magic. Anyway, moving on from that. The reason it's being brought up is that I think with this young Celtics team and how they're constructed, and it seems like Zarin, the witch that runs our cap, has kind of set us up for like this 5, 6, 7 year run while these guys are young. I don't see anything changing so much in the East where year over year it's going to be a hard thing for us to get out of the East. So we're a little bit like the Lakers in the 80s where they're just cruising through, then they're meeting the Celtics. The West now is the 80s East.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a Denver, OKC, probably Soda battle year over year unless somebody gets injured or somebody screws up the cap and they have to adjust. But I know that I just went off there. I can't help but think, man, what a run we're going to have as a Celtics organization and fan base. But on the West Coast, I see this year probably the Nuggets. I'm going to not say OKC. I want to disclose that I think Anthony might be able to do something to get them out of the West. I don't think it happens this year. So we have Nuggets, Celtics.
Hey, Minnesota played the Celtics really hard earlier this year in a way that scared me, and I was like, I don't know, I want to see that team again. So
I agree.
but not that I feel like the Nuggets are any better. So yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of on the same page. A Nuggets Celtics championship, dude. I don't know if the Celtics win that though. That's the part that I don't love.
I know, me too. I'm like nervous about it because it's like, again, it's that little bit of like that area where it's like if Tatum was just 10% more alpha when we're struggling down the stretch, where he could just will us to a victory. I need to see that. I need to see that.
He's got to do it at some point, dude. His play in the last like 10 seconds of close games is just so abysmal. He's just not clutch, doesn't make the right pass, doesn't take the right shot. It freaking kills me. And that's part of that's coaching too, you know? So that's where if we had a Spo, it would be a lot different. But dude, I don't know, man. So I think we have an all-time great Celtics team that had an amazing regular season. I worry that it's just like the Bruins last year, where you have like this all-time great regular season, but doesn't translate to a championship. Because everyone on that list, there's all these lists of, you know, margin of victory and all these lists, and where the Celtics are in like this list with the 2014 Warriors and the 98 Bulls and all these great teams. Like that could be them if they win the championship, but like I'm scared that they're going to squander it. And I'm also still scarred from the 2007 Patriots too.
It's valid. If everybody stays healthy, Celtics have the advantage for most games at home because of their record.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the homer in me is going to say the Celtics, but I'm not going to be surprised if Denver beats us.
Yeah. So I'm not going to make a prediction. I'm just worried about the Celtics. I do think that that's the matchup. I'd probably lean Nuggets, but dude, if we made it there, it's awesome. We've been so lucky as Celtics fans over the past few years. We just haven't gotten that championship. So let's go.
It's time. Let's go.
Let's go. Listen, hey, I know you have to run. I don't want to keep you any longer, but fun talking the draft, fun talking playoffs with you. Episode 100. Glad to do it with you, pal.
Same here, and congratulations on 100, man. I know how much work and effort you put into this. I really, really do think you do a good job, and I'm proud of you, man. And I'm glad you've got yourself a decent following because people do mention the podcast to me. So congratulations.
Awesome, dude. Appreciate it, pal. We will do another one soon.
All right. See ya.